Hey, good evening. It's Tuesday evening. So I wanted to share some thoughts and some things I've been talking about with university faculty, things we work on a lot of times about trying to help us at the university understand what's coming in the future, help parents understand, usually helping faculty, helping the students, or helping the professionals that we work with think about future. So we talk to a lot of parents who are looking for, what do you do for calculus? I mean, what do you do for college? How do you prepare your kids for college? We spend a lot of time talking through, the math, the college prep material, and what are the things that you need to do from point A to point B to point C to point D, and in the common sense. And most of that has not really ever changed. Certainly from the homeschool perspective, we're seeing more colleges a lot more open up to those kind of things. But one of the things that we don't think about is, what does the future look like for our kids? So when we sit here and we think about what does it look like, our kids are going to go into medicine, they're going to go into science, they're going to go into nursing, they're going to go into engineering, school teaching, music, what are the kind of things that they will go into from a college path? Maybe they'll go into a skills trade thing. Maybe they'll buy a company, buy a franchise. Maybe they will be an electrician, a plumber, welder, truck driver. I don't know if you know this, truck driver is the biggest job description there is in the country, or the biggest, the more people doing that job than any other job. So think about where they might be going. What are the future careers for your kids, and what do you think about? But here's the problem is, a leader of our, I won't mention the name, but a leader of one of our programs at the university said to me the other day, he says, I want to help kids be prepared for the jobs for tomorrow. So I said, what jobs do you think those are? And he just had this blank face, because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what the jobs for tomorrow are. He could guess some, but he can't put his fingers on it. And it's kind of funny because we are a university, right? We know all the answers, supposedly. So think about this. If you recognize this is if you have some of these at home, go take these to your children and ask them what that is if they haven't found that. So our son found this roll. This is 35 millimeter film. Who knows what's on it? I guess I don't know if it's used or not, but anyway, he takes this, and because, I don't even know how it works anymore. So he take this, he saw this and he was like, what is this? And so my wife was explaining, she said, well, that's film. He said, and you get this blank stare, because if you think about it, kids now they've never really seen this or experienced this. Same thing with yellow pages, same thing with dial phones, same things with a phone plugged to the wall. There's so many things in our culture that are brand new. So if you think about this device here, this is an iPhone, and the iPhone come out. I realize it's not the only one, but it was about 2007 when the true smartphones came on the market. It was 2007 when Twitter came on the market. As a matter of fact, a ton of things happened in the year 2007 that have radically changed how we operate. Think about it now. One of your big challenges now is getting your kids' attention away from this device. That wasn't true 10 years ago. One of the ways that we deal with business right now is through this device. That wasn't true 10 years ago because this device didn't exist. Now, every company builds the Internet of Things to talk to this device. You buy refrigerators, you buy stoves, no matter what it is, it has to talk to this device, or otherwise it's all business. Now, this is just but one example. So you think forward in the future, what does your kids' future look like? I'm gonna just give you some things to think about, because I see I'm constantly working with people trying to look at how companies innovate. Some of the things I'm seeing happen is careers will dramatically change. Careers are just going to not be what they are today. Think about the medical doctor. We already see a lot of medical doctor changes from the point of view of because of healthcare, because of the cost, and it's not as profitable to be a healthcare provider anymore. But what happens when Amazon enters the drug market? like they're probably going to do. What happens when we were at our university, we're a big medical university, we're talking about what we think about the future is personalized healthcare. Now, what that means is rather than me giving you a drug and say, well, most people that have this sinus infection, this helps, is I could take your DNA, I can now give you a drug that's specific to you, and I might be able to say this would kill most people, but this is going to solve your problem. But, and I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm just speaking in a few terms, but if I have data about you and I have big data or I have analytic data, what we call artificial intelligence, that say people with your DNA and these drug combinations, they work well because we've tracked this a bazillion times. Think about that. So that's what our university is looking at as the future, where they're going to invest, is what we call personalized medicine. So I was asking this question: if you have DNA, and if you could get the DNA into this device, which is not really that big of a stretch, right? If I can get the DNA into this device or whatever device there is at that time, and then I have big data and analytics, where does the doctor play? Right? I mean, certainly there's a doctor in the space. There's people, medical professionals in the space, but where do you need the doctor? That job doesn't look like it does today. Many of those jobs may become non-existent. Now think about that. A medical doctor, many jobs, when we struggle for those in many places, but many of these might become non-existent. We worry about robots. We worry about things like that. What do you think protects that field? Now, clearly that changes. It's going to change what happens in that field. But when we're thinking about our kids moving forward, what does the future look like? So we're at the university. Many of you, I know because I talk to, don't want to send their kids to university, and I can talk to you all day long about that. There's probably some logical reasons for that. The university is struggling. Many of us in the university, we don't see that, but the university is struggling. The university we operate with today will probably not operate the same way it does in the future, because right now you can get education from anywhere, right? The only thing that keeps your education at the university from being valid, the only thing that keeps you from going out and getting a true education through Google or for YouTube or through other MOOCs, the open courses that are out there, is because we give you a diploma and it validates that you went and did this at a university. Well, what happens to the university is when it changes, when the university goes away, or when it dramatically doesn't serve the need anymore. What happens there? So think about this. When you're preparing your kids for college, you're sitting there thinking, like most parents, I'm giving them a college degree so they can go and do some field X. But no, not really. Field X will not be there. Field X will be dramatically changed. Field X will not depend upon the college degree like it did today. As a matter of fact, many employers are telling me they don't really care about the college degree. Now, that's a threat to us at the university. We have to step up our game and manage that. So I don't care what your field is. So I'm working with people in the power industry. So the power, the most basic thing in the world, right? We bring power to our home. We turn on light switches, lights turn on, air conditioners turn on, heaters on. We all expect power to be there. But the power companies across this country are realizing they're in a dying market, or at least the ones that are open. They realize their revenues are going down because every device that hits the market now consumes less power. So now, will there be electric cars? Will that change that? Maybe, maybe not. But essentially what's happening is there's off-grid type stuff. The power company and all these people who have these perfectly stable jobs at the power company that will go on forever. No, not really. That industry is in for radical disruption. We call that disruptive technology. Or disruptive innovation is the word you hear so often. This 35 millimeter film that I'm showing you, that, Kodak, who ruled this world, they controlled this world. They were super smart people. They even knew it was coming, but they just didn't know how fast it was coming. And then it ate them. So think about all of the things that are out there that changes your kids' careers and your future. Now, why do I talk about this? To be scary and everything like this? No, I talk about this because some of the things your kids are doing that frustrate the daylights out of you is the future. Your kids are watching YouTube videos. Your kids are consuming information. I know a lot of us are afraid of that. We're afraid of all the stuff and all the garbage out there. And yeah, there's plenty of garbage. But there's a lot of frustration. Your kids are out there doing these kind of things. They're consuming information, but that is how information will be delivered to them. It's probably not going to be in some book format. I mean, we all love books, but it's not going to be so much in the book format. That information will be consumed in other ways. Your kids have opportunities to be connected to people in ways that they didn't before. They can talk directly to the authors of these books. They can talk directly to the authors of these videos, and they can have communication, unlike what we might have experienced, where it was very difficult to get to people, and there was these gatekeepers, and there was this the kingdom person, the person who kind of rules this area and this space, and we didn't understand how to connect to them. Right now, our kids are happy sending emails and text messages to anybody, just anybody that might kind of freak us out in the sense that we worry about stepping on toes, or can I get to that person, or it's going to be embarrassing when they won't talk to me. So your kids are watching these videos, they're consuming information, they are connecting to things out there that you probably don't know about. Now, I don't mean all the bad, crazy stuff that's out there too, again, but there is a sense that we need to teach our kids how to learn in today's society. We need to teach them how to learn, and with the modalities of learning now that's out there. That's not just through a book, through a course, sit down, do this seat work. Matter of fact, I hate that. I've always hated that. I hated school because, that's how we operated. Many of you I know did too. You just, it's so empty. It's so mind numbing, but we don't have to do that. Is learning important? Absolutely. Is education important? Absolutely. But just because your kids are sitting there in front of a video doesn't mean they're not learning. So we've watched our kids, who sometimes sit through this mind-numbing video, watching other kids play video games, which I still don't understand. Videos of people playing video is bizarre, but very popular. And then next thing I know, they're on science videos, and they're doing, experiments, and they're building things, and they're doing things that, we would probably love for them to do in the physics classroom, but we can't get them to because what we do is boring in the physics classroom, right? So your kids need to learn how to learn in the new economy as things change, because like it or not, your thinking is old. Your thinking is yesterday, even if, and it may be just yesterday, literally, and that's just enough to be too old. Our Kodak film friends, they just suddenly they're unemployed. There's nothing going on there because the digital camera. But the digital camera, well, it's soon to be gone too. Something else will take its place. We're talking about artificial intelligence, neurotechnology, and nanotechnologies and things. It's going to disrupt all of these fields. And we're all used to that. When we lived through industrial revolutions, or we've at least studied about industrial revolutions, we've lived through technological revolutions and digital revolutions, but those things, they all happened slower than they're happening now. Matter of fact, there's this concept in the world I live in engineering and technology, that technology changes so fast, it just makes our head spin. It's not a matter of how do you keep up. You just have to acknowledge you can't keep up. You cannot stay abreast of what's going on. You try to, and you suffocate under the burial of information. So how does that change? How's that going to be in the future? I don't know. But one thing for sure, there's an incredible opportunity there are massive, incredible opportunities out there. There are job titles out there that you and I don't know about. You and I have no clue about them. So our daughter used to play on Facebook all the time when Facebook was young, and when there was a nobody. And we would say, get off of that stupid stuff, and Now she does a lot of social media professionally. Bill Gates' parents were very famous for telling him to quit playing around with that stupid computer and get busy, doing your schoolwork or going and getting a job. Well, that became a job, and he became mildly successful at that, right? What we see sometimes is a distraction. What we see is keeping our kids away from the schoolwork, and what we see is keeping them away from getting focused and going and getting a job or doing something productive is exactly what they need to be doing. So there's not really a lot of answers here, but I will say, from you, if you're still into the book world, and I still like books too, but this book is a great read. The book is called Bold by Peter Diamond. It's a great read to kind of get your head around what's going on. Another book that we do a lot at the university. These are not university books, but it's called The Inevitable: 12 Technological Forces That Will Shape the Future. Look, because what we want to do is we want to prepare our kids for the careers that we don't even know about. We want to prepare our kids for how the careers will operate that we don't know about. We want to prepare our kids that they can adapt for the technological changes that will happen. Even the university, we don't know about. Again, I'm talking to leaders at university trying to say, we want to prepare the kids that they're telling me we want to prepare kids for the jobs of tomorrow. And when I ask them, how do you know what they are? They're like, we don't have a clue. So how do you help them prepare? One of the best ways you can help them prepare is to let them explore. Just let them, you need reins on for some things, but let them explore. Let them do their crazy experiments. Let them watch some of these crazy YouTube videos. Even these things where what's inside and they're destroying things on YouTube. How much learning and education are going on in there? And by the way, there's a whole career field right there on YouTube that your kids may be learning about that you're sitting there telling them to turn it off. So think about letting your kids explore more, and how do you make that as part of their schoolwork instead of just do the problems, read the book, watch the video, take the test, start over in the next chapter. We might have to do that some, but I'm one that's beginning to be more and more convinced that's just boring, and that's just the way it was yesterday. So hopefully I just give you some things to think about here, because I don't have a lot of answers either. This is what I do for a living, and I still don't have a lot of answers. So hopefully this gives you some things to think about. I'll share with you later. I mean, if you're interested, we'll talk more about later, and I'll share with you some of the things we do teach professionals. What do they do to keep up with what's going on? Not to stay ahead, but just to keep up. So have a great night. Cassie will be back with you Thursday.